Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I make original lo-fi beats layered over cozy Minecraft scenes to help you unwind. And sometimes, I have a story to tell. I put a lot into these, so if you enjoy the vibe, I'd really appreciate a like. And if there's a feeling or theme you want next, let me know in the comments. Alright, get comfortable. 3 months from now, your YouTube channel could look completely different. Not because of some overnight miracle, not because of luck or timing or some algorithm trick you stumbled across, but because you made a decision this week that most people never make. You decided to stop waiting and start building something real. A YouTube channel. And before you dismiss that, before your brain starts cycling through every reason it won't work, I want you to sit with something for a second. Right now, somewhere in the world, there is a person who started a channel 3 months ago with no subscribers, no equipment, and no guarantee of anything. And today, that channel is changing their life. Not in a dramatic quit your job tomorrow way necessarily, but in the quiet, compounding, deeply real way that happens when you build something that belongs to you. When you create something that reaches people, when you prove to yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time, that you are capable of starting something and seeing it through. That person exists, that outcome is real, and there is no fundamental reason it cannot be you. This video is going to walk you through exactly how that happens. Not in theory, not in abstract inspiration, but practically, psychologically, and honestly. We're going to talk about what month 1 actually looks like, what changes in month 2, and what becomes possible by month 3. We're going to talk about the fears that are probably sitting in the back of your mind right now, and why almost all of them are based on assumptions that don't hold up when you look at them clearly. And we're going to talk about the one thing that separates the people who actually do this from the people who spend years thinking about doing it. Because that one thing is not talent, it's not connections, it's not even time. It's something much simpler than that. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it is and exactly what to do next. Let's start with the landscape, because I think a lot of people have a completely distorted picture of what YouTube actually looks like right now. The dominant narrative is that it's oversaturated, that every niche is full, that the YouTube algorithm favors established creators, and that starting today means starting too late. And I understand why that narrative exists. When you open YouTube, you see massive channels with millions of subscribers and production budgets that would make a small film studio uncomfortable. You see thumbnails that were clearly designed by professionals. You see editing that took a team of people to produce. And it's easy to look at that and think, I cannot compete with this. But here's what that picture leaves out. Less than 1% of people on Earth have a YouTube channel. Let that land for a moment. We are talking about a platform with over 2 billion monthly users, and fewer than 1 in 100 of them has ever uploaded a single video. And of the channels that do exist, the overwhelming majority are abandoned. Uploaded once, maybe twice, and then left to collect digital dust because the person behind them got discouraged after their first video got 30 views and they convinced themselves it wasn't working. The channels that are actually growing, the ones with real communities and real income and real impact, they are not everywhere. They are not wall to wall. There is more room on this platform right now than most people believe, and that room is specifically in the place where you live, which is your authentic, specific, unrepeatable perspective on something, not a broad topic. Your niche, the angle that comes from your actual life, your actual experiences, your actual questions. That is the gap in the market, and it always has been. So before we go any further, I want you to do something. I want you to think about one thing you know, care about, or are currently going through that someone else would genuinely benefit from watching. Not a perfect answer, not a researched, validated, SEO-optimized niche. Just an honest answer. Maybe you're figuring out personal finance in your 20s, and the advice you see online feels disconnected from what it's actually like to be young and broke, and trying to build something. Maybe you're learning a skill from scratch, and the process of that learning, the confusion, and the breakthroughs, and the gradual progress would resonate with other beginners. Maybe you're making a career transition, or building a side project, or processing something you've never really talked about out loud. Whatever that thing is, that is the seed of a YouTube channel. Whether you're creating long-form videos or YouTube shorts, the 3-month framework applies, and it does not need to be bigger or more impressive or more original than that. It just needs to be yours. Now let's talk about month 1, because month 1 is where most people either build the foundation or quit. And understanding what month 1 is actually for is the most important thing I can tell you right now. Month 1 is not about growth. It's not about views or subscribers or watch time or any of the metrics that YouTube eventually rewards you for. Month 1 has exactly one job, and that job is to prove to yourself that you can do this, that you can go from an idea to a finished video and put it into the world. That's the whole victory condition for month 1. Your first video will probably not be your best work. The audio might not be perfect. The pacing might feel a little off. You might watch it back and cringe slightly at the way you said something. That is completely normal, and it is also completely beside the point. Because the version of you who uploads an imperfect first video is in a fundamentally different position than the version of you who never uploads because they were waiting to be ready. One of those people is building. The other one is waiting for a feeling that is never going to come. Because readiness is not something that arrives before you start. It's something that develops because you started. Here's what actually happens in the brain when you finish and upload that first video. Something called self-efficacy shifts. Self-efficacy is your belief in your ability to execute a specific kind of task, and research on this has been consistent for decades. The single most powerful way to build self-efficacy is through what psychologists call mastery experiences, which simply means successfully completing the thing you were afraid you couldn't do. Not watching someone else do it, not studying how to do it. Actually doing it. So when you upload that first video, even if it gets 23 views, even if 3 of those views are you watching it back, you have just created a mastery experience. You have given your brain real evidence that you are someone who can do this. And that evidence compounds every single time you upload again. For the practical side of month 1, let's be specific about what you actually need, because I think the equipment conversation is one of the most effective ways people delay themselves. And I want to dismantle it completely. You need your phone. Modern smartphones shoot video at a quality that would have cost thousands of dollars to achieve a decade ago. If you're making voiceover content, the voice memo app on your phone is genuinely sufficient to start. You need editing software, and there are multiple professional-grade options that are completely free. CapCut is intuitive and powerful. DaVinci Resolve is what professional editors use, and has a full free version. iMovie is already on your Mac if you have one. You need something to say. That's the list. Everything else is a detail you can figure out later after you've proven to yourself that you're going to stick with this. The microphone you're waiting for, the ring light you've been looking at, the camera upgrade you've been telling yourself you need before you start, those things might genuinely improve your content eventually. But they will not improve your content right now, because right now the bottleneck is not production quality. The bottleneck is reps. Every video you make, you learn something. You learn what you sound like when you're comfortable versus when you're nervous. You learn how to structure an idea so it lands, instead of trailing off. You learn what information to cut, what to keep, and how to say something in a way that actually holds attention. None of those skills come from buying better gear. They come from making videos. So make the video. Once you upload, open YouTube Studio to check your analytics. Your thumbnail is the first thing viewers see, so even a simple, clear thumbnail at all, the gear can wait. As you move into month 2, the experience starts to shift. You've got a few videos up. You've survived the discomfort of putting yourself out there and discovered that the world did not end. You're starting to develop a rhythm. The process is becoming more familiar, faster, less exhausting. And something else starts to happen that is genuinely exciting. You start getting data, real information about how your content is performing through YouTube Studio. Which videos are getting clicks and which ones aren't. Where people are dropping off and where they're staying. What topics seem to resonate and which ones land flat. And if you approach that data with curiosity instead of anxiety, it becomes one of the most valuable feedback mechanisms available to any creator. Month 2 is when you start learning what your specific audience actually responds to, which is almost always different from what you assumed when you started. You might discover that the videos you thought were your best ideas are getting skipped, while a throwaway concept you almost didn't upload is performing above everything else. That's not failure, that's education. That's the market talking to you in the only language it has, which is behavior. Watch time, click-through rate, comments, shares. These numbers are not grades on your worth as a creator. They're navigation data. They're telling you which direction to walk. And the more you can stay curious and detached in how you read them, the faster you'll find the version of your channel that genuinely works. The framework that makes month 2 productive is simple enough to write on a piece of paper and stick on your wall. Create, observe, adjust, repeat. Not in a stressful, overanalyzing way. Not in a way where you're refreshing your analytics every 30 minutes looking for validation, but with the steady, patient curiosity of someone who knows they're building something and understands that the building takes time. The videos that underperform are not reasons to quit. They are data. And the only video that gives you no data at all is the one you never upload. Something else happens in month 2 that is harder to quantify, but might be the most important thing of all. You start getting comments. Not necessarily a flood of them, maybe a trickle, maybe just a handful, but real comments from real people who found your video through search or recommendation, and were moved enough by what they watched to type something and hit send. And I want you to understand what that means, because I think it's easy to dismiss a small comment section when you're used to seeing channels with thousands of responses on every video. A comment from a stranger is not a small thing. A comment from someone who has never heard of you, who had no obligation to watch your video, who could have clicked away at any moment but chose to stay, and who then chose to engage. That is proof that what you made created real value for a real human being. That is extraordinary. And it is available to you starting with your very first video. By the time you reach month 3, the compounding becomes visible. This is the month where the foundational work you did in months 1 and 2 starts to pay off in ways that feel genuinely surprising. Your subscriber count is higher than you probably expected when you started. Your videos are getting recommended to people who don't already follow you. You might have a video that reaches a completely new audience and pulls in views that dwarf everything you published before it. Not because you did anything dramatically different, but because the YouTube algorithm has enough data on your channel to understand what it is and who to show it to. Consistency is what gets you to this point, not perfection, consistency. Here's what consistency actually means in practice, because I think the word gets used in a way that makes it sound more demanding than it needs to be. Consistency doesn't mean uploading every single day while maintaining cinematic production quality. Consistency means having a sustainable cadence that you can actually maintain without burning out. For most people starting out, that's 1 video per week. Some people can do more, some can only do 1 every 2 weeks. The cadence matters less than the commitment to not disappearing for months at a time. Channels die from abandonment, not from slow growth. If you show up regularly, even at a modest pace, you will be ahead of the vast majority of channels on the platform. Let's talk about something that most YouTube advice skips over, which is the psychological dimension of building a channel in public. Because there is a specific kind of vulnerability that comes with putting your thoughts and your face and your voice and your perspective into a video and sharing it with the internet. Even if the internet in the early days consists of about 47 people, that vulnerability is real and it is uncomfortable, and it is also, I would argue, one of the most valuable things about the process, because it forces you to get clear on what you actually think. It forces you to articulate ideas you've only ever held loosely in your head. It forces you to reckon with what you're actually trying to say, and whether you believe it enough to say it out loud to strangers. That process, over time, makes you a clearer thinker. It makes you a better communicator. And those skills, once developed, follow you everywhere. There's also a community dimension that I think is genuinely underrated in conversations about starting a YouTube channel. When you build a channel around something you authentically care about, you attract people who authentically care about the same thing. And over time, those people don't feel like an audience. They feel like a community. They show up for each other in the comments. They share your videos with people in their lives. They reach out when something you said landed at exactly the right moment. The experience of being in that kind of community, of being the person who created the space for it to exist, is something that doesn't have a dollar value. It's one of the things creators consistently describe as the part they didn't expect, and the part that matters most. Now, I want to talk about the income side of this because I know it's something you're probably thinking about, and I want to be honest with you about what's realistic and what's not. YouTube ad revenue in the early months will be modest. The YouTube Partner Program requires either 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, or 10 million YouTube Shorts views, in 90 days before you're eligible for ad monetization. But here's what most people don't know. You can access fan funding features like Super Chat and Super Thanks with just 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours. Ad revenue is genuinely the least interesting income stream available to creators, especially in the early stages. What becomes possible much sooner than ad revenue is everything else. Channel memberships for viewers who want to support you directly. A community space like a Discord where your most engaged viewers can gather and where you can offer additional value. Consulting or coaching calls if your content is in a space where people want personalized advice. Brand partnerships once you have even a modest but engaged audience. Digital products, affiliate marketing. The point is that there are multiple ways to generate income from a YouTube channel, and most of them become available before you hit the thresholds required for ad monetization. 3 months in, depending on your niche and your consistency and how effectively you've built a relationship with your audience, some combination of those income streams can realistically be generating meaningful supplemental income. Not enough to quit your job necessarily, not yet, but enough to be real. Enough to feel like proof. Enough to show you that the thing you built with your time and your creativity is something that other people value enough to support. And that proof does something to your psychology that is very difficult to replicate any other way. It shows you that your income does not have to be entirely tied to trading hours for dollars at a single employer. It shows you that there is another way. And once you see that, once you have real lived evidence of it, rather than just a theoretical understanding, your entire relationship with work and income and what's possible begins to shift. The identity shift might be the biggest thing of all. When you start a channel and you stick with it, you stop being someone who wants to create, and you become someone who creates. That sounds small, but it's enormous. Identity shapes behavior in ways that conscious decision-making often can't. When you see yourself as a creator, you start noticing ideas everywhere. You start naturally thinking about how to communicate things, how to frame stories, how to connect concepts in ways that are interesting and clear. You start reading the world differently, with the eye of someone who is always half looking for the next thing worth making. That orientation, that creative relationship with the world, feeds back into your content in ways that make it better. And it feeds back into your life in ways that make it richer. So, let me bring this home. 3 months from now, one of two versions of you exists. The first version of you decided this week to stop waiting. They created a channel, gave it a name that was good enough if not perfect, recorded a first video that was honest if not polished, and uploaded it. They spent the next 12 weeks showing up. Not every video was great. Some felt like a genuine breakthrough. Some felt like a miss. But they kept going, and by the end of month 3, they had a body of work they were proud of, an audience that was growing, a set of skills that didn't exist before, and proof that they could build something from nothing. The second version of you watched this video, felt genuinely motivated, thought seriously about the channel they were going to start, and then got busy with the rest of the week and let it drift. Not because they forgot, but because starting felt uncertain and staying comfortable felt safe. And 3 months later, they are in the exact same position. Maybe watching another video about starting a YouTube channel. Maybe still thinking about the idea they had. The difference between those two versions of you is not intelligence. It's not talent. It's not even time, because both of them had the same hours in the same days. The difference is one action taken this week, instead of deferred until some undefined later. And I am telling you, clearly and directly, that you have everything you need to take that action right now. The topic is there, the phone is in your pocket, the software is free, the gap in the market is real and waiting. Everything is already in place except the decision. So here's what I want you to do before this video ends. Open a new tab and create a YouTube channel. Name it something. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be a name you can work with. Write down one video idea. Not a list of 10, just one. The thing you would say if someone handed you a microphone right now and told you to talk. Write it down. Then this week, record that video. Don't script every word. Don't wait for the lighting to be better. Don't tell yourself you'll do it after you research editing software for 3 more hours. Just record, then edit it as well as you can with what you have right now, which is more than enough, and upload it. The momentum that comes from that single action is real, and it's different from any motivation that comes from watching videos about starting. Watching gives you a feeling. Doing gives you evidence. And evidence is what builds the belief that keeps you going when the numbers are small and the process feels slow. And quitting would be the easiest thing in the world. Every creator you admire has been exactly where you are right now. 0 subscribers, 0 views, a blank channel, and a choice to begin. The only difference between them and you in this moment is that they made that choice and acted on it. Nothing else. Nothing more complicated than that. 3 months from now, this video might be the one you point to. The one where something clicked. The one where you stopped consuming the idea of building something and started actually building it. That version of the story is still available to you. Start this week. Upload your first video. Keep going. Trust the compounding. And let the next 3 months show you what becomes possible when you stop waiting and start. If you made it to the end, thank you. It really means a lot. If you're still here, say something in the comments so I know who's supporting the channel. I appreciate you more than you know. I'll see you next time.